We're going to bring in a special guest now, John, as a matter of fact. We're going to bring in our boss.
Okay.
Chris Ruddy.
Oh.
Chris Ruddy is going to join us now. He's the CEO of Newsmax. He is the man that signs the checks around here. Chris, nice for you to be able to join us. Welcome to the show.
Happy New Year, Bill. Glad to be on with you. And is that John you said? John, the famous John Gizzi?
The famous John Gizzi is here, and I've got Ellis Hinnigan sitting on the set.
Oh,
Chris.
Ellis! Oh, wow! Even two more famous people. Wow!
It doesn't. It gets no. It doesn't get any better than that, does it?
Nobody needs to go anywhere.
Have a new book out? Doesn't Ellis have a new book out?
Yes,
I do. A trumpitude. Thank you very much for hyping that, Chris.
Yes,
Chris,
yes.
As a man who knows writers, you know there's nothing that pleases a writer more than mentioning his own book. So I appreciate that.
I didn't give a copy to my good friend Donald because I was afraid if he saw it, he might not ever talk to me again. But I think you should read the book because it is a fun. It's a funitude book.
It is a funitude book. It is, as a matter. You know, Chris, I'm glad you could join us. Happy New Year to you. I wanted to ask you.
Happy New Year, Chris.
You were very much involved with this New York Times interview that recently earned a lot of headlines. How did that come about? And tell us about your role and what you think of the interview.
The president was down here in Mar-a-Lago, and as you know, I live not too far away. I'm a member of that club, and I see him there and at the golf club often. And I did see him several times throughout the holiday, and had a lot of good conversations with him and time with the president. And on one of the occasions, I brought over a star reporter at the New York Times, one of their more famous political writers, Michael Schmidt. And I had not met him before, but we agreed to meet for lunch at the golf course. Unbeknownst to me, I didn't know the president was going to be there for sure, but we were sitting near each other. The president spotted me. We started chatting. I introduced him to Michael, and the rest is history. Michael, I don't think, was expecting, nobody was expecting an interview with the president. The president said, I'm interested in following up. And he said, why don't we just have a conversation right here? And so they walked over to a table. Michael got out his iPhone and he started recording and did a half-hour interview. And that interview made headlines all over the world. And it's just sort of the type of guy Donald Trump is, where he sees an opportunity to tell his side. He will give it. There's not a lot of protocol around it. There's not a lot of preparation necessarily. And he made some very positive headlines, I thought, this week.
Now, Chris, as you know, some White House aides were caught by surprise. In fact, I think all White House aides were caught by surprise. Did you get grief from people at 1600 about this? How are you leading this viper into the nest here, this New York Times reporter?
Well, look, I think the sensibilities at the White House are that the president does his own thing and has his own style. I think they should be much more concerned about the tweets. I've always said that they should be reviewed first before they go out. I think the president's usually very thoughtful on the one-on-ones. There's a lot of context when he gives an interview. He's really a master communicator in person. I think what happens with these tweets is you put out two sentences. There's no context. Like the tweets today, is he calling for a revolution in Iran? People are not sure what the implications are. And so I haven't, fortunately, I'm not on the White House payroll, so I don't get phone calls from the White House whether they like something or not. My friendship is directly with the president, and I like to keep it that way.
You know, I can hear John Gizzi wanting to get in. John, have you got a question for Chris?
Yeah, I just wanted to tell you, did the president call you afterward, after the interview came out and was seen worldwide, and say, thank you very much, or something else?
Well, I saw him, John, 2 days later, and he was ecstatic about the interview. He thought it was fantastic. Some of his friends and associates that were down here and family members were telling me that he was really pleased with the interview. Not that they were kissing up to him in the New York Times. It was just a very fair, straightforward interview. The president was able. He said, look, Robert Mueller is doing a fair job that got international headlines. A lot of people thought he was going to be very negative to Robert Mueller. He was taking the high road, which is really, really good. So generally, I think it was a very positive thing, and I think he saw it as very positive.
Now, Chris, I'd love some interpretation from you on the Mueller comments of calling him fair. You know, that is somewhat of a different tone than many of those around the presidents have been taking, talking about a witch hunt and something that's going on much too long. Was that a strategic comment on the president's part, do you think, or does he really think that Mueller's being fair?
I believe that he personally believes that Mueller is being fair. I personally think, and he thinks that Mueller's going to exonerate him, as his own lawyer, Ty Cobb, has said many times, that he will be liberated and freed and cleared of all charges in the next, he was thought by January 1st, but maybe it's going to be, that's here already, and that prediction hasn't come true.
That one's wrong.
I personally think that Mueller is doing a real prosecution. That's a threat to the Trump administration and the presidency. Not that they have anything on the president, but you remember, Richard Nixon didn't order the Watergate burglary. He didn't even know about it.
Right.
And yet the whole thing engulfed him. We have here a lightning speed investigation. I don't think anyone has ever seen anything like this, where Mueller just took the job in April. You've already had 2 major indictments, including the National Security Advisor and the former Trump campaign manager. And then you have 2 plea agreements, 2 conviction, 2 plea agreements and 2 indictments.
It is, as a matter of fact, really quick, as this is blocked. Chris, unfortunately, we got to hit a break. Got to go make some money for the network. Chris Ruddy, CEO, thank you so much for being here.
Cool.
John Gizzi, thanks, buddy.
Newsmax TV. Watch us on Dish, DirecTV, AT&T Uverse, Verizon Fios, or download our free app. Don't have Newsmax TV? Call your local cable provider and request Newsmax today.